So in this session, we are going to think about the skills required to undertake business research, and then we're going to think about some of the activities you will be involved in through research. Whilst we are going through this session, we will also be thinking about your skills and if you have the required skills for research. So we will be pausing, reflecting and recording our thoughts as we go. There is a worksheet on Moodle which you should use as you work through the Session 4 lectures. So let's have a think about the skills required when you're researching. Research includes a range of activities and a knowledge of research methodology, which is a whole subject area on its own. However, Khalifa suggests a knowledge of research methodology is not sufficient. Researchers require skills to effectively conduct a study, and Khalifa identified two types of skills required by researchers: soft skills and technical skills. So first, we have patience, and this is about you sticking to the study aim. You are going to face challenges, but don't let those deter you from what you're trying to achieve. You also need listening skills, and this means active listening to really capture the data and understand it. You should be able to respond to what your research participants tell you, so you're listening to understand and not simply to respond. You also need to be able to ask good questions. Keep questioning, keep probing. Learning can lead to more questions than answers, and that's okay. When you're researching, you aren't just looking for the first easy answer. You're looking to understand an issue, so keep asking those questions. When you're out meeting participants, you're going to need a further skill: doing parallel tasks. You need to take notes, converse, verbally and non-verbally. You may also be using recording equipment, so you need to be able to juggle all of these. You don't want to miss noting an important point, but you need to keep the conversation going so that you can understand and ask appropriate questions. You also need to be able to manage your time effectively. As you conduct your research, you will likely have different tasks going on at the same time. You might be searching literature and be out doing interviews, and at the same time be arranging other interviews. It is important you stick to your time frame for your study. There are two reasons for this. One, you might have a deadline. Secondly, you can't let your research drag on for too long. It has to be current and relevant. You also might have multiple commitments that you have to juggle. So really, it's sometimes an exercise in prioritising. Research also requires you to engage in self-learning. You are unlikely to go into a research project and have all the required skills and knowledge. Sometimes you don't even know everything you need until you're already into it. So you have to be aware of this and identify the skills you need to finish the study. When you realise you need a skill or competency, you need to be proactive in going out and obtaining that. So look for opportunities to learn. This has to be self-motivated and led by you. An important research skill is critical thinking. You need to question, and question again. This will help you to recognise, understand, and then evaluate different perspectives. As you do this, you will start to develop arguments or propositions. The most important thing to remember is you do not take information at face value. Probe it. Who said it? Where did it come from? Why was it published or said? The last soft skill is emotional intelligence. This is a capacity for an individual to monitor their own and others' feelings and emotions. You need to engage in self-management, self-awareness, social awareness and relationship management. Be open-minded and be aware of your own and others' emotions. As well as the soft skills, there are also technical skills needed by a researcher. These are the hard skills required that are particular to research, whereas the soft skills are transferable. The first skill is being able to use library resources. This isn't just about if you can do it, but if you can do it efficiently and effectively. There are different ways to search for literature which are focused and much quicker. It will limit the amount of information you are confronted with. Ask your tutor to show you how to do this if you're unsure. As a researcher, you will also need to analyse data, and this is about sorting out your data once you collect it, making sense of what it means, and actually turning the data into information. There are lots of specific skills required for data analysis depending on the kind of data you're collecting. Therefore, this might include self-learning, particularly in relation to software. There are lots of different softwares available to use when analysing data, so you will need to go and learn this. The final technical skill is technical writing. This is about being able to effectively communicate your research so people understand it. Think about the difference between the reports you write for university and compare them to the reports you write at work. There are likely to be differences between these. Academic writing is quite different and can be mimicked from journal articles. But either way, always be aware of your audience. There is no point in conducting research if you can't share the findings in a way that others understand. So now it's over to you. Think about the skills listed. Do you have these, and how would you rate them? Pause this video and complete the skills audit on the worksheet. You may have rated yourself quite highly in some of these skills, others you might think you have to develop. So let's think about how you can acquire some research skills. First, you need to select a topic that is interesting to you. If you're interested, you will be more engaged and passionate about the project. This will motivate you. Then you need to identify the skills requirement for that project. What do you need to do to complete it? You can then do your own skills audit and rate your level of competency in the required skills. You may need certain skills that you have to develop. Here you have to prioritise what is the most important and urgent skill needed. Focus your time and energy on that one skill rather than spread yourself too thin trying to achieve them all. Then think about what resources you need to develop that skill. Do you need software or some support from a tutor? Identify the resource and secure it. Finally, identify some time to develop that skill. Whatever time frame you choose, perhaps an hour or two a day, until you feel comfortable with it. Research includes a range of activities, each which will require different skills. The actual activities will be determined by what you are studying and how. But here is a common list of activities. Just be aware that this is not an exhaustive list. So firstly, sourcing and reviewing literature. This can include finding it, assessing its quality and relevance. Does it relate to your study? What does it actually say? And how does it inform your study? You're probably also going to have to negotiate. Perhaps you will need to get resources, time or support from your employer. You might have to negotiate timeframes with either co-researchers or supervisors, and you will definitely have to negotiate access with participants and organisations. Then there's data collection. You will need to determine the right method of collecting data for your study and then design them. This can take various forms, including surveys you will need to design, perhaps focus groups you might have to arrange, and interviews to conduct. But once you have the data, you then need to analyse it. So make sense of the data and convert it to information. This again can take a variety of forms depending on the type of data you collect and how you collected it. There are technology options available for this. This is a really important activity as this is where you derive the value from your research, so it needs care and attention. And lastly, you will present your research findings, perhaps as a report or a paper. It could be a poster or a presentation. Again, there are different skills requirements here. Pause the video and go back to the worksheet. Can you match some of the earlier mentioned skills to these activities? So, some points to remember. There are soft skills and technical skills needed to research. You may have these skills, you can transfer from employment or studies. You need to actively reflect on your skills and actively engage in self-learning to acquire those you need. There are lots of opportunities for you to upskill. You just need to find them and secure them.